The hallways of Sinex Korea always smelled of bleach and ambition. Vivian moved silently through the marble corridor, her mop gliding like a dancer's heel on polished floors. Her curly hair was tucked under a simple black cap, her navy uniform loose on her curvy frame. She didn't mind. She preferred being invisible. No one looked twice at the janitor. Her badge read V.O. No one asked her first name. No one cared. And Vivian was perfectly fine with that. Until the day she saw the little boy crying on the stairway. It had been raining. The thunder outside cracked the glass panels with each boom. She was pushing her cart toward the stairwell behind Tower B, her favorite hideout spot, when she heard the quiet sniffling. Vivian peeked around the corner. There he was, tiny legs folded under his designer beige shorts, arms wrapped around his knees. A 5-year-old boy, alone and sobbing, his nose red and runny, his expensive black loafers scuffed. She stepped closer, her heart aching at the sight. "Hey," she said gently, crouching a few feet away. "You okay?" The boy looked up with watery eyes that glared fiercely. "Don't talk to me. You're dirty." Vivian blinked, startled. "Excuse me?" "You clean toilets," he snapped, turning his head. "My daddy says not to talk to people who clean." Vivian smiled, unbothered. "Ah, so you're one of those little rich men, huh?" He sniffed. "I'm not little. I'm just 5. And I'm not dirty," she replied calmly. "I'm clean. Cleaner than most people here." The boy didn't respond. She took a cookie from her bag, one of the 3 she saved for her lunch, and placed it on the stair above him. "Don't want it," he muttered. "Didn't ask if you did," she said, standing. She left. The next day, he was there again. This time, he didn't insult her. "What's your name?" Vivian asked on the 3rd day. The boy was chewing on the same cookies she had brought again, chocolate chip, slightly burnt. "Ji-hoon," he mumbled with his mouth full. "But you can call me Captain." Vivian chuckled. "Captain of what?" "My spaceship." "Oh, so this stairway is a launch pad." He nodded solemnly. "Daddy says I have to be strong. But he never plays with me." Vivian's heart squeezed. She looked at the little boy beside her, his perfect hair, expensive coat, and lonesome eyes. "What does your mommy say?" His lips pressed into a tight line. "She left. She said being a mother was too tiring." Vivian blinked. "Oh, will you come to space with me?" Ji-hoon whispered. Vivian smiled, brushing a crumb from his cheek. "Only if I can be the cookie chef." He grinned. For weeks, they met during her breaks. Their stairway pact grew into an unspoken ritual. Vivian began bringing extra cookies and sometimes tiny toys. Ji-hoon began waiting for her at 10:30 a.m. sharp, sitting cross-legged like a prince expecting his royal chef. The security guards sometimes frowned but said nothing. She didn't know who the boy belonged to. And she never asked. Until one day, Ji-hoon stopped showing up. She waited. 1 day passed. Then 2. Then a week. Vivian missed him more than she expected. She even brought the last of her cocoa biscuits that morning, hoping. But he didn't come. And then he did. 10 days later, as Vivian was wiping a glass wall in Tower A, she heard the soft patter of feet. "Vivian." She turned around, startled. "Ji-hoon." He ran and threw his arms around her legs, nearly toppling her over. "You're back," she smiled, crouching. "Where have you?" "Dada wanted me to go to Busan. But I cried. I cried every day. I told him I miss my cookie friend." Vivian's heart softened. "You cried for me?" He nodded. Then she noticed. A tall figure stood behind him. A man in a black coat, sleek gray tie, and sharp jawline. His expression was unreadable, eyes dark and focused directly on her. "The CEO." Vivian stood up quickly, backing away. I didn't know." Ji-hoon turned and grabbed his father's hand. "Dada, this is her. I want her. I want her to be my new mummy." Vivian's knees nearly buckled. The CEO blinked. "Once. What?" "This is her. The one who made me cookies and played spaceship and told me funny things. I love her." Vivian gasped. Ji-hoon, no. "Vivian, I want you to be my mummy," he repeated stubbornly. The man stepped forward, his voice calm but cold. "Miss," she stammered. "Vivian. Vivian Okafor." "You're a janitor?" She nodded. His lips thinned. "And you've been spending time with my son. In a stairwell. Secretly." She flinched. "I didn't know he never told me who you were." Ji-hoon grabbed his father's coat. "She's nice, Dada. Nicer than those scary ladies you bring home." Kang Min-jae looked at his son. Then at her. There was something unreadable in his eyes. Disbelief? Contempt? Curiosity? "Meet me in my office," he said shortly. "Now." Vivian felt the air leave her lungs. Vivian's heart thudded violently in her chest as she walked behind Ji-hoon and his father through the luxurious hallway of Tower A. The corridor seemed to stretch on forever. Her hands trembled against her sides, her mop cart abandoned somewhere near the elevators. The walls were glass, the lighting soft, and every passing employee did a double take. Not at Kang Min-jae, their revered CEO, but at the woman in a janitor's uniform walking behind him. Whispers trailed behind her. "Who is she? Why is he with the janitor? Isn't it the woman who cleans the third floor?" Vivian tried to breathe, but it felt like her lungs were closing. Ji-hoon walked proudly, holding his father's hand, occasionally glancing back at her with a grin that was entirely unaware of the storm she was walking into. The office was enormous, minimalist, expensive, cold. Vivian had only seen it once, when she accidentally polished the wrong floor. Now, she stood in the middle of it, facing Kang Min-jae as he stood behind a black marble desk, removing his coat with slow, deliberate movements. Ji-hoon skipped to a couch near the bookshelf and began opening a chocolate bar like nothing was wrong. The door closed behind them. Min-jae's eyes locked onto hers. Sharp, unyielding. His voice came low, like a command. "Sit." She obeyed, legs shaking slightly as she sank into the black leather chair across from his desk. He didn't sit yet. He just stared. "I don't like strangers being around my son," he said flatly. "Especially not unsupervised." Vivian lowered her eyes. "I understand. You should have reported him to security the first day he came to you. It's standard policy. Staff are not allowed to interact with the children of executives." She nodded. "I know. I'm sorry. He was crying and—" "You offered him cookies," he interrupted. "Chocolates. Toys. Like a stranger in an alley." Vivian flinched. "I never heard him. I didn't even know who he was." Min-jae's jaw clenched. "That's not an excuse." He sat down at last, folding his hands together on the table. His voice dropped an octave, almost too calm. "What exactly do you want from my son?" Vivian looked up, her voice trembling. "Nothing." He leaned forward. "Do you expect some reward? A payout? Are you trying to manipulate a child so you can seduce the father?" Her head snapped up. "What? No. You're a beautiful woman," he said coldly. "You must know that." Vivian's breath caught in her throat. "I've seen how some women act," he continued, "especially when they see a wealthy, single father. And you, an immigrant janitor, might think this is your one shot at comfort." Vivian's face burned. Her voice cracked. "I've never wanted anything from you." His eyes studied her face. "Then why did my son call you Mummy?" Vivian blinked back the sting in her eyes. "I don't know. I never told him to. I only listened to him, played with him, talked to him when he cried." There was silence. For a long moment, Min-jae said nothing. His dark eyes softened, just barely, before hardening again. "I've canceled your contract." Vivian gasped. "But," he continued, "I've also arranged something else." Her breath caught. "You will report directly to me for the next 30 days. Cleaning staff for the executive wing. I want to see who exactly my son has become attached to." Her heart dropped. "You want to watch me? I want to see what kind of woman you are." Ji-hoon popped his head up from the couch. "Can she come live with us?" Vivian stood immediately. "No. That's not." Min-jae raised a hand. "Quiet." He looked at her with something unreadable in his expression. "Start tomorrow. 7 a.m. sharp. Dismissed." Vivian turned, heart slamming against her chest. As she opened the door, Ji-hoon waved. "Bye, Mommy." She rushed out without answering, the entire office spinning behind her like a bad dream. Later that night, Vivian stood in her tiny rooftop apartment in Mapo-gu, arms folded over her chest. She stared at the single cookie left in the tin.
She didn't eat it.
She felt sick. Everything had changed. Her invisible life had been cracked open. The little boy she thought was just lonely turned out to be the only child of the coldest, richest man she had ever met. And tomorrow, she would have to face him again. The executive floor of Cinex Korea gleamed like a forbidden palace. Vivian stepped out of the elevator at exactly 6:59 a.m., dressed in a fresh navy uniform, her hair twisted back into a low bun under her cap. She clutched her new cleaning roster in one hand and her badge in the other. She could feel the eyes before she even looked up. Everyone was staring. A few whispered, others simply gawked. Not at the fact that a janitor was walking toward the CEO's office, but that she was the African woman. The one the CEO had reportedly called into his office and hadn't fired. Vivian moved with quiet grace, trying not to meet anyone's eyes. When she reached the double doors of Min Jae's private suite, she hesitated. Her finger hovered over the access pad. Then she pressed it. A moment later, the doors clicked. Kang Min Jae looked up from his desk. He was already seated, suit perfect, hair slicked back with precision. His black-rimmed glasses sat low on his nose as he reviewed a file, but when she stepped in, he didn't miss a beat. "You're on time," he said without looking directly at her. "I said 7 a.m. "Yes, sir." Vivian bowed slightly. Her voice was soft, respectful, controlled. "Good," he said, then gestured with a flick of his hand. "Begin with the lounge. Ji-hoon will be arriving at 9 o'clock. Vivian moved to her cleaning kit silently. She felt his eyes on her as she dusted the glass conference table. Not just glancing, watching. Her every movement. By the time Ji-hoon arrived, bouncing into the office with a wide grin, Vivian had already cleaned 2 side rooms and was mopping near the window. "Vivian." He threw his backpack onto the couch and ran toward her like a puppy. She smiled. "Morning, Captain." "You came," he beamed, hugging her legs. "Dada didn't scare you away." Vivian laughed awkwardly. "Not yet." Min Jae looked up from his desk, his jaw tightening. Ji-hoon began unpacking his lunchbox and pulling out the chocolate bar she once gave him. "Look, I saved this. It's my treasure." Vivian's smile faltered. Min Jae's eyes locked onto her. "You've been giving him food for weeks?" She nodded. He said he was hungry. "You think it's your place to feed my son?" "I thought," she lowered her gaze. "I thought someone should." Silence. Then Min Jae looked away.
"Fine.
From now on, you can prepare his snacks. But I'll have them inspected." Vivian flinched but nodded. Ji-hoon clapped.
"Yay."
"Mummy's snacks." "Stop calling her that," Min Jae muttered. "But I want her to be." Vivian's cheeks flushed. "I'm not your mummy, Ji-hoon," she whispered gently. He pouted. Yet. That afternoon, Vivian was wiping the corner of Min Jae's desk when he suddenly said, "Where did you learn to speak Korean like that?" She looked up. "University of Lagos. I studied Korean language and culture. I came here on a partial study visa before switching to work." He paused, surprised. "You're educated?" Vivian nodded. "Yes. And you clean floors." Her voice stayed calm. "Bills don't care about degrees, sir." His gaze flickered. For the first time, something like curiosity shone in his eyes. "You're not what I expected." Vivian gave a small smile. Neither was Ji-hoon. He smirked faintly, the first time she saw anything human crack through that polished, cold exterior.
Days passed.
Vivian became part of the routine. Every morning, she arrived early. She cleaned the lounge, the conference room, and Min Jae's office. By 9 o'clock, Ji-hoon would come in, leap into her arms, and she would give him snacks she prepared in her tiny kitchen. Sometimes, when he had meetings, Min Jae would ask her to sit with Ji-hoon privately in the lounge. One evening, he walked in and found them sleeping together on the couch, Ji-hoon curled into her side, Vivian's hand on his head protectively. Min Jae stood silently in the doorway for a full minute, watching. Something tugged at him. Something dangerous. Vivian was reaching up to clean the ceiling light when the small ladder wobbled. "Whoa!" she shrieked. Just as she tipped sideways, a strong arm caught her around the waist and pulled her back. She landed against a firm chest, the scent of expensive cologne enveloping her. Her breath hitched. She looked up. Min Jae was inches away. Too close. His hand was on her hip, his other on her back. "You should have called maintenance," he murmured. "I didn't think it was that high," she whispered. He didn't let go immediately. And when he did, his fingers lingered just a second too long. They both turned away at the same time, avoiding each other's gaze. One rainy evening, it was after hours. Vivian stayed behind to clean the executive lounge when she saw Min Jae standing alone by the window, a glass of soju in hand, tie loosened. He looked exhausted. She walked past him silently. "Vivian," he said. She turned. He didn't look at her. "Do you think I'm a good father?" She blinked. "Ji-hoon loves you." "That's not what I asked." She hesitated, then walked forward slowly. "You're trying," she said gently. "And that's more than most." He turned his head, their eyes meeting. His gaze searched hers. "I keep wondering," he said softly, "what it would have been like if I married someone who looked at Ji-hoon the way you do." Vivian's breath caught. "I don't know what you mean," she said quickly. "You do," he said. Then he walked past her, brushing her shoulder. And her heart thundered. 1 week later, the air in the executive lounge felt heavier than usual. The gossip had reached its peak. Whispers in the break room, glares from female staff, assistant managers looking her up and down with smug judgment. She seduced the CEO. Maybe she's using the child. Black women always think they can steal the spotlight. She's just the janitor. Vivian pretended not to hear it.
She swept.
She smiled. She carried herself with dignity. But inside, she was breaking. Especially because she noticed the shift in him, too. Kang Min-jae had grown quieter, colder again. Only speaking when necessary, refusing to meet her eyes. Almost as if he were building a wall between them. And Ji-hoon, poor Ji-hoon could feel it. "Why is Dada being strange?" he asked one morning as they colored together on the floor. Vivian kissed his cheek. "Maybe he's scared." Scared of what? She didn't answer. That evening, Vivian was called into Min Jae's office for a brief meeting. She arrived to find him already standing by the large glass window, looking out at Seoul's glittering skyline. His face was unreadable. "Come in," he said quietly.
She did.
He didn't look at her. "Vivian," he began slowly, "this arrangement has gone on longer than intended." Her heart dropped. "I can no longer allow you to be around Ji-hoon." Her lips parted. "What?" He finally turned to face her. "You've become too involved. Emotionally. And so has he." "I didn't do anything wrong," she said softly. "I know," he whispered. "That's the problem." Her eyes filled. "You're pushing me away." "I have to," he snapped, voice breaking slightly. "You think I don't see how the staff talk? You think I don't know how this looks to the board? To society?" Vivian stepped forward, voice shaking. "So what? You're going to rip him away from someone who actually cares about him? Just because I clean floors? Because of the color of my skin?" He looked pained. "Because I can't afford to fall in love with you." The words silenced her. And then don't fall," she whispered. "Let it happen." Their eyes locked. Then he broke. In one swift movement, Min Jae crossed the distance between them, cupped her face, and pressed his lips to hers.
Soft.
Desperate. Electric. Vivian's hand slid up his chest, his tie gripped in her fist. He deepened the kiss, tugging her closer, breathing her in like salvation. For a moment, the world fell away. No company. No gossip. No class.
Just them.
But reality crashed back in. Min Jae pulled away first. "This is dangerous," he murmured, forehead against hers. "So is loneliness," she said, voice trembling. He stepped back. "I need time." She nodded,
heart shattered, and left.
The next day, she didn't come to work. Or the next. Ji-hoon cried in the lounge, refusing his snacks, drawing frowny faces on the wall. Min-jae sat beside him and whispered, "Do you miss her?" His son nodded, eyes glassy. "I want her back. I don't care what the other kids say. I want Vivian to be my mummy." Min-jae stared at him, then stood. 3 days later, Vivian was packing her things in her apartment. Her visa would expire in 2 months, and she needed to plan her return to Nigeria. Her chest felt hollow. There was a knock. She opened the door and froze. Min-jae stood there, in a white dress shirt and no tie, Ji-hoon holding his hand. She couldn't speak. He stepped in. "I'm sorry," he said. She blinked rapidly. "For what?" "For letting fear win. For letting the world dictate who I'm allowed to love." She stared at him, breath shallow. He knelt, actually knelt, and took her hand. "You were never invisible, Vivian. Not to Ji-hoon. Not to me. I just didn't have the courage to admit it." Tears slid down her cheeks. He stood and kissed her gently, like a promise. Ji-hoon climbed into her arms. "Mummy." Vivian held them both. And smiled. 1 year later, the wedding was small. Just close friends, a few trusted colleagues, and one very enthusiastic 5-year-old who wore a mini tuxedo and carried the rings with pride. Min-jae kissed his bride beneath cherry blossoms that danced like pink snow. And when they walked down the aisle, Vivian didn't wear a uniform. She wore a white silk dress, and the world finally saw her. Not the janitor, but the woman who captured the CEO's heart. They moved to a quieter neighborhood outside Seoul, where Vivian began a non-profit for immigrant women seeking work and safety. Ji-hoon proudly introduced her to his teachers as "my real mummy," and Min-jae, he cooked dinner on weekends, learned to dance awkwardly in the living room, and kissed Vivian like he had something to prove every night. And one day, as the sun set over their balcony, Vivian placed Min-jae's hand over her belly and whispered, "You're going to be a dada's again." He pulled her into his arms and kissed her like forever.